I'm wounded. Oh, right in the taint. All right, so I'm going to kick it over to just Johnny. You,
Yeah.
my friend, had hopefully a better experience checking out Hellblade.
Senua's Sacrifice.
Why can't I pronounce that?
It's a weird Celtic name.
Isn't it Viking? Is it Norse?
So all right, let me just read the wiki entry for this.
Yeah, lay it on. Give us
All
the
right,
goodness.
so inspired by Norse mythology
Can
and
you
Celtic.
read it in a Norse accent? Inspired by Norse mythology.
I can't.
Oh.
Inspired by Norse mythology and Celtic culture, Hellblade follows Senua, a picked warrior who must make her way to Helheim by defeating otherworldly entities and facing their challenges in order to rescue the soul of her dead lover from the goddess Hela.
So she's thirsty.
In parallel, the game acts as a metaphor for the character's struggle with psychosis, as Senua, who suffers from the condition but believes it to be a curse, is haunted by an entity known as the Darkness. Voices in her head known as Furies. That's what the Darkness is.
So it's an allegory for puberty. I see what they're doing.
And memories from her past. All of these things are sort of taunting her and haunting her as you're playing through. And it continues on to properly represent psychosis. The developers who made this game, they worked very closely with neuroscientists, mental health specialists,
Sigmund Freud,
and even people that are suffering from the condition itself. They went full blown as far as research is considered. They went full blown to sort of fully understand how to represent psychosis and these type of mental disorders and represent that in game, so much so that they took sort of the experiences, and you can see this in game because they have one of the option menus is this documentary that they produced, and it's part of the game itself. You can watch this documentary of how they built the game and all the interviews that they did with mental health advisors and the people that are suffering from the condition, and how they worked what those people said, how they worked those elements into actual gameplay elements where there'd be blurring, or it would, at times the graphics would look like you're looking through, like, you know how you had those tubes as a kid they look through, and it would like create this rainbow diamond pattern, and if you twist
like
it, everything. Yeah, kaleidoscope. Yeah, kaleidoscope effect. Yeah, and tons of other things like that, or the entire world will go completely pitch black, and all you'll see is Senua, and you'll kind of have to like guide yourself through there. There's voices. They actually recommend playing
Are
the
you
game.
sure this is the game? Because it sounds like you had a bad trip.
Well, the game is a bad trip.
It's
a
bad
very,
trip.
very bad trip for the character. It's interesting as all hell.
Well, give us the lowdown, man. How was the gameplay?
All right, so the gameplay is as it's a extremely linear, I would say, adventure game that has melee combat action. It's sort of focused into sort of three core elements: melee combat action, environmental puzzle solving, and the whole psychological horror element. And they take that to such an extreme where there's this, where they tell you about very early on, hey, if you die too many times, guess what? Your save is going to get deleted.
Oh, much like in real life.
Yeah. So, and they tell you that from the start, so that as you're playing through the game, and every time you die, because it is pretty challenging, because the combat is, I'll get into the combat, but it does test you. And as you're dying, they have your right arm has like this black curse. That's how they represent the curse. And it starts to grow up. It's like a ooze almost, and it starts to grow up your arm every time you die more and more, and it starts to creep up. And if it reaches your head, that's it. Your save file is going to get deleted.
It's like this game's version of Psycho Mantis. It's like I'm gonna destroy your saves unless you close it now. Like, is there a way? I mean, I'm gonna assume it's not like that's it. There's a way to get the slime, get the ooze back down your arm. Right? Power ups or something.
Well, I don't know if I want to get into a slight spoiler. It's very slight.
Nah, no spoilers. You've got a nasty habit of spoilers. It's like, I'm not. Okay, fine. Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's a small.
Sorry about that. So, there is that element, and so as I said before, the combat is sort of the fun part of the gameplay that you really want to get into, because combat is pretty fleshed out. It's sort of like a Resident Evil style camera, where it's Resident Evil 4, where it's completely behind your back, looking forward, and it's really tight to your back. So you're seen from right above the shoulder, and every time there's a new enemy that pops up, you're locked on to that particular enemy, and you can flick the stick to sort of switch targets. And you have a dodge button, you have a block and parry button, and then you have a strong attack, weak attack. You can run and charge. There's different move sets that you can do, but it's I hate to say it, but it's very reminiscent of the combat of Dark Souls. It's not as complex and nuanced as it, and it is more in a action-friendly type of manner, but it does challenge you. And they throw, instead of Dark Souls, where it's usually a one-on-one affair, this one it's still throw two enemies, three enemies, four enemies at you at the same time, five enemies.
Melee attacks.
Yeah, so they challenge you in that way, and it's really, really fun. They have a really good combat system in this game, and that's about I'd say about like a third of the game is the combat, and that's the good part. A third of the game, or maybe more, is the puzzle solving, and they seem to have tied too much of the puzzle solving into sort of nailing the psychosis element.
Yeah, I hate it when Tetris did that.
One of the main puzzles is that there's going to be this door that you have to get past. In order to unlock the door, you have to find a shape in the environment. So you're looking through the environment and you're trying to line up different objects like trees or houses or dead bodies or whatever, and you're trying to line them up in the right way so that it recreates the shape that the door tells you to find. And it's really kind of like a look around the environment until you see a bunch of stuff, an indicator that you're near where you need to be, and then start looking around. It's not fun at all. It's not really that interesting. And there are other puzzle elements in this that also aren't that great. It would have been nice if they, I don't know.
Is there a bypass, or is there?
There's no bypass, so you kind of have to go through. Thankfully, it's not super bad, but it's there enough to be like, this again. All right, whatever. I'll just get through it.
That'd be enough to turn me off, man. I remember old games used to do that. Yeah. It's like you'd get to I don't know, a level you have to turn all the lights off in this house or something.
Yeah.
And that would be enough for me to stop playing the game. Like, God forbid it was something I rented. This game, I'm guessing, if you buy it, and you get to that point, you're stuck until you finish.
Yeah, but thankfully the environments aren't so big that you're going to get lost, and it's go through a corridor or go through an environment, get into a fight, then after that solve a puzzle within that environment, and then go through another corridor, get into another fight, solve another puzzle. It's like very formulaic.
Wait, you had
very
good
linear
impressions of this, and now I'm just hearing, it sucked for you.
All right, so it didn't suck. It's the interesting part is the story, is the lore. There isn't really much of a reason to explore, other than there will be like these little stone totem-y things. You go up to it and you focus on it, and then it'll give you lore, like an entire voice-driven lore dump on Norse mythology, and it's telling this actual story in Norse mythology. I'm not familiar with Norse mythology, but my friend is.
Well, this guy named Odin and his son, Thor.
Oh yeah, they go into detail about Odin, Thor, other sons and whatnot, and people.
Beta Ray Bill's my favorite Norse.
The one on
Worf,
fire, I forgot his
Lieutenant
name.
Worf.
What's the fire one?
Hades.
Not Hades. There was this fire one, and he's supposed to be like the bringer of the apocalypse or whatever, or the Norse. Sulfur. Close. Something like that, but yeah.
Satan, that's the guy.
Soot. His name is Soot.
His name is Soot.
Okay.
Yeah. You can tell I know nothing about Norse mythology.
Well, it ties that in, and then as it's telling those stories, you're starting to see the connection between those stories, the very loose connection between those stories and Senua's story. But it's really about Senua, her story, her psychosis, and sort of overcoming and sort of getting through that strife in order to get to the end game, which is really fantastic. But the game itself, so it is really high production, really beautiful, amazing sound design, amazing graphics, beautiful environments.
Yeah, the aesthetics of this were people raved about them online.
Yeah.
I checked out a video of the mocap, and a lot of care was taken in to making Senua
Yes.
to making Senua look as realistic as possible. And I didn't get to play it myself, but the videos I saw looked amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's not just like one section of the game that people focused on. The rest looks like crap.
No. The entire game, all the way through. And actually, when you get towards the very end stage of the game, things get so over the top in such a really, really, really good way. And it makes going through the middle part of the game worthwhile. Because the middle part is where this game struggles. It's a little bit too long. Long in the sense that they made it... It's not a long game. You can beat it in like 6 hours. But it's long in that middle chunk is felt like padding to make the game longer. Because if they cut that middle chunk, which was pretty much unimportant for the game, for the most part.
All right, so acknowledging that was put in as just fluff, does that affect your rating for the game?
Oh, it does. Yeah, it definitely does. It can turn off people from... They could see that as like a stopping point, or a point where it's like, you play those games and you're like, yeah, I'm enjoying this, but all of a sudden, like, another game comes out and you switch to that one, and then you never work up the drive to go back.
Absolutely. Any game where I have to stop the action because I got to farm stuff, or I got to grind for gold, or it becomes like one big fetch quest.
Yeah.
Or no, any game where I have to save NPCs and have them follow me through some kind of like dangerous terrain. I stopped Dead Rising for like months because I couldn't get these a-holes from like the jewelry store across the zombie-filled mall, because they updated the AI as games went on, because a lot of people had these complaints, but they kept stopping and letting go of the hands. And I'm like, you follow me, I'm here to save your life. There's zombies trying to kill you left and right. This is not the time to window shop.
Yeah.
And then I give them a gun, they'll shoot me.
I would say that is more interesting game design than what this one has.
Oh. Yeah, you were giving me mixed signals here, man.
It's just the game design, it's meant to be a linear game. It's better off being like just combat and then story segments. And like going through and exploring the environment, I can see why they had you controlling those elements to sort of nail home the psychosis elements that they want to do, especially with the puzzle alignment and stuff like that. But it kind of took away, it outstayed its welcome after a certain point of time. And that's what it is. So overall, though, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, because this reminded me of games that from a long time ago that just don't get made anymore, like Eternal Darkness, where it really plays on you, but more so, instead of you, this one plays on the character, and you're seeing what is going on with the character, and just the craziness, and how it's admirable that she is able to go through this amount of abuse in so many forms.
I know.
Just to have
From
this
beyond the grave.
Just to have this skull that she's been carrying around of her dead lover. It's a skull. She's carrying around a skull to hell. Chainsaw? Like a skull.
Yeah,
she's carrying around.
Is he like on her hip cracking jokes and stuff too? Is that
it doesn't talk. But it has like a bit of the black curse on it, so it's like a little oozy black and nasty. And she's carrying that all the way over through hell in order to make sure its soul doesn't... I don't want to get into spoilers, but... Save his soul.
Because he was putting it down that good.
Yeah.
When he was alive, just contortions and flexing. Just all the rug burn in the world. And just like, all right, never mind.
So it's a mixed bag. Combat's phenomenal. It's not the best, but it's really, really good. And the graphics and the audio design, all those elements are great. It's just it's sad that it has those other elements that are either too long or too padded, or too badly envisioned. But so overall, it's good.
It was a good effort. It has its failings, a couple of foibles there that could be improved, but overall, good experience.
Yep, and it's cool. $30 on Steam and PS4.
All right, the game is called Hellblade:
Senua's Sacrifice.
Thank you. Oh, even you got it. Show me up. All right, well, I want to thank you all for joining us. This has been the Geek Down here on WEMF Radio. I want to remind you all you can catch us every Monday nights right here